Hello, we're going to be looking at sketching graphs on this video, and it's going to range from the tools that you can use at GCSE at very basic level up to the same skills that you can use at A level. So let's crack on. Okay, so first of all we're going to look at locating y-intercepts, the most straightforward normally of the points on the graph that you need to find. So in this case, if we look at my example over here, this blue line, we're trying to look for point A. So if we're trying to find A, it's on the y-axis, so we know that one of its coordinates will be x equals 0. And that's always your starting point for finding y-intercepts. If you substitute x equals 0 into the function, then you can find out your y value. If you're using a function, you can substitute 0 into it, and that gives you a y-intercept. On the following video, I'm going to be looking at how to do that with these 4 examples here. Once you substitute in x equals 0, you can then find your x-intercepts. Now, they might be known as solutions or roots, particularly with cubics or quadratics. And they occur on the x-axis. So here we've got, if I call them B, C, and D, and they can be found along the x-axis, which means that the y-coordinate is always 0. And that's why when you're solving quadratic you make it equal to 0, but equally for any equation you make y equal to 0, then you should be able to use algebraic methods to find the value of x. In some cases you can't find it algebraically, but in most cases you encounter you will. So for this one, when the whole equation is equal to 0, we can find out where it crosses the x-axis. Once you've found x and y crossing points, you've got a good chance of being able to sketch the graph. If you want to be slightly more detailed, then there's a couple of important points which are what we call turning points. So for turning points, you've got a couple of ways of doing it. If you've got a quadratic, then you might complete the square. And by completing the square you normally get something that looks a little bit like this. And this will give you the minimum, or the maximum in some cases, of the quadratic. And the minimum point is always the opposite sign to A and B. And that's because you want to know what value of x will make this bracket 0, because 0 squared will be 0, and that's the lowest this is ever going to be, and add on B and you work out what your y is. So this is why that works for the minimum. However, more generally, if you differentiate, and that's particularly for people doing A level, if you differentiate and make dy by dx equal to 0 and solve that, then you can find the turning points. So this is a general guide to sketching graphs. The most important thing being that first of all, if you make x equal to 0, you can find your y-intercepts. If you make y equal to 0, you can find your solutions or roots where it crosses through the x-axis. If you want to go a bit further and find your turning points, you can complete the square or you can differentiate. And there are a couple of other skills which I'll show you when I do these 4 examples in the next video.